Hello and welcome everybody. As I've promised you every single Wednesday night, I seek out a crypto lifer, someone that loves crypto, someone that's going to bring the energy, bring the passion. I've shared the screen on ATB many times with my man. He has a beautiful accent and makes him sound intelligent, and he also says things that are intelligent. So I can't wait to bring him on. He makes me laugh. He has a good heart, good soul. He's one of my buddies. Here he is. Firoz, man, thank you so much for jumping on into the price report today. I appreciate you coming and sharing the screen with me.
Sam, appreciate you bringing me on, to be honest. It was an honor when you said, hey, Firoz, come on over and jump and let's talk some banter on a Wednesday. And I was like, yes, please. So no, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here.
So, one thing I always want to talk about is when we first jump in is just what got you into crypto? Where's your crypto journey headed? Where did it start? And just, give the viewers just a quick backdrop where they can find you, if they want to follow you on social media.
Yeah.
And just tell us about your journey.
No,
I'm so excited.
It's an interesting journey, to be honest. So prior to getting into crypto, I've worked in finance and risk my whole entire life. So I used to work for Reuters, then became Thomson Reuters, Thomson Financial. So I was always in the sort of more on the UX side of creating trading platforms. That's kind of my background. So I'm in tech, product manager is what they call it. But interestingly enough, it was July of 2017, because I remember it specifically. And I was speaking to my buddy Evan, and Evan's all the way out in the US. And he was like, man, I've managed to 10x my portfolio just overnight. I was like, what do you mean you 10x your portfolio? And he was like, yeah, man, this crypto stuff, just look at it. I'm already making $70,000. And I was like, man, here I am busting my ass 9 to 5. And my buddy Evan has actually, made a load of money overnight. And so I'm sure Evan watches you anyway, so he's getting a name drop there. But and I was like, you know what, I want a piece of this. I'm interested. But with me, I tend to go all in. So I looked at it, I was like, you know what, I didn't know where I was starting. Bought 5 Bitcoin at the time, as I recall, because it wasn't that expensive back then anyway, right? It was 5 Bitcoin, and that was the start of my journey. I just kind of left it there. Didn't really know what was going on, but that was the ICO craze as well, because you could then start chucking money at anything and it would 10x overnight, right? Sites, you didn't even have a website. Sometimes you just had a white paper. That was enough. Or sometimes you just had the concept, right? And those were the days, 2017. Long gone.
Those were the days.
You get a few of those here and there. And that's really where it started. After that, I took it one step serious, and I opened up a mining farm, actually. So I got hold of a load of ASIC miners at the time. They were coming fresh over from China. It was the ant miners back then, actually. And my sister had just bought a brand new place. She had a busted up garage at the end of her garden. It was damp. It was leaky, draft, everything. And I managed to I bought 14, but the grid would only allow 10 to be run before everything else would just sort of blow so I had to go and sell the others. And I tell you one thing, that garage had never seen a sign of damp after that. So that's kind of really where it started. And then, like most, I didn't really quite know what I was doing. Pretty much paper handed it all the way up, going into the 20K range towards the end of that year, and then watched it pretty much come all crumbling back down again. But I held on. I held on since then. And then that kind of led me into opening up a YouTube channel in 2018. So Decentralized Chain, you'll find me there. So that started off, and I was like you, Sam. So interviewing, talking about the current news, everything that's going on. There was that. Then obviously came Twitter, because you kind of need to expand your socials. And then over last year, I sort of expanded into TikTok. So there's again, Decentralized Chain across all my socials. So we've got live streams on TikTok every day. But for me, I'm slightly different because I'm not really a trader more than anything else. My background, I work in tech 9 to 5. I create digital solutions, digital products. So for me, crypto, I would say it's not even part-time. It's like a quarter time, but I really enjoy it. So, after the hours of 9 p.m., once everyone's gone to bed, I'm here looking at the charts, seeing what the next play could be more than anything else. But again, I'm not a trader. I would say I'm more of a swing trader on a higher time frame. I like to play it safe. I'm kind of a bit more low risk, low reward. But again, focusing more on the fundamentals. So that's really me, to be honest, Sam. Beyond that, again, you'll find me on TikTok, you'll find me on YouTube. I do a lot of my content on Binance Live. So if anyone's using the Binance app, there's Binance Live within there, and you'll find me streaming there pretty much every day. But that's kind of where you normally find me hanging around. And of course, with you on a Thursday around the blockchain, talking crypto.
You know, thank you so much for that. You know, it's interesting because I talk to so many different people and I see things from just a different perspective. And you say you're part-time, but because of your digital history and like kind of your where you're going, I feel like you're going to run into Web3 and crypto anyway. And you know, you'd be surprised. People that swing trade less end up making more money than some people that consistently trade all the time. You know, as I got better and better at trading and, you know, was lucky enough to make enough money, I began to pull myself out of the smaller time frames. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to become successful in trading, do you want to sit there 10x leverage on like day to day staring at the screen, or do you want to like place a couple nice swing longs? You know what I mean? Do your thing, take your family to the beach for the afternoon every couple of days. Like my favorite thing is the swing trade, the 1 hour and the 4 hour time frame. And I always tell people one of the main reasons that, you know, beginner traders begin to lose money is they overtrade, you know, overtrading. So like you said, you know, like low risk, low reward, but at the same time, I'd be surprised. You probably beat out a lot of other traders, man. I have a feeling you're pretty savvy with it. So first thing I want to discuss, right, is, you know, everyone's talking about we're going into a recession. And so we have an article here. Will this be a normal recession? You know, zero hedge here. U.S. recession increasingly imminent. But the usual playbook of deep equity sell-offs and treasuries acting as a hedge may not apply to the same extent. You know, we're not seeing the same type of sell-off that we saw before in equities. Also, we've already bounced back for some heavy lows. Just in March, right, we've had a huge dip in 2020. It's kind of like that was our 2008. And, you know, it could be a bigger dip. I'm not saying that. But, you know, when I look at it and go over these things, it does look like there's more strength in the equity market than I've seen before. I also called the bottom. I saw a giant bullish divergence on basically a high to the daily time frame on the S&P. That was in October. And I went bold enough to say that's a bottom there. Like I'm calling pretty much a reversal. And since then, we've been battling with the high 3,800s to the $4,000 range. And it seems to have been, you know, we would have to break 38 and 34. And there's some strong support here going on. So, you know, what's your take on this? Being from the UK, do you see a similar fall down in the equities markets? Another thing I'm going to bring up is the fact that the U.S. Treasury, right? When you see what's going on with BRICS and the movement away from the U.S. dollar, it doesn't make investors so confident to jump in to, you know, Treasury and to buy government debt and bonds. You know, I personally never thought it was a good idea. Other people maybe wanted to make a quick fix and thought it was great. I would buy gold and gold shares, you know, instead of yield. But at the same time, you know, the big boys have to get in somewhere and make a percentage. So what's your take on this, being from the UK, and how do you see it from across the pond?
It's interesting you say that, Sam, because you know, for me, I always check the macro every day, right? And by no stretch am I a macro specialist at all, but there are a few charts that I tend to look at, you know, the 2-year, the 10-year T-bills to see exactly how they're performing. And interestingly enough, right, I mean, in times of economic uncertainty, we do see, you know, the ticker going further up on the 2-year and the 10-year, right? And I would say over the last few months, I'd say we've seen a bit of a reduction, which is obviously what then implies that money is moving out of T-bills and moving back into equities, because we are seeing a move up in equities, right, at the same time. But still, for me, I'm going to go slightly opposite from what you're saying. I do think that there is a recession coming, okay? But one thing that is slightly different, and I would say it's ultimately due to me losing my hair, because that's where the wisdom is coming in more than anything else, is, you know, back in the past when I didn't know much about this, you know, it's kind of following the herd. Yep, there's a recession coming in, this is happening. But now that I know more, now that, you know, I've got a bit of that extra wisdom behind me, I can look at some of these charts, the 10-year, the 2-year. I can look at your Fed asset sheet, for example, right? And I see things there aren't necessarily increasing, right? They're decreasing. They're actually selling off assets. So all of this really, to me, implies that money is coming out of the stock market, right? And it is clearly going somewhere where it has a bit more certainty. Now, how do I see it from our side of the fund? Again, interestingly enough, you know, from what I understand, the US has kind of rewritten what is a recession, for example, instead of 2 negative quarters of negative growth, right? That usually leads into recession. And you guys have gone ahead and kind of slightly tweak the values to maybe not so sound like that you're in a recession. The UK has done something very similar as well, because ultimately we still think that we're not getting into a recession. Every other day you'll see something coming out saying that we're not heading into a recession. But I base a lot of what is happening here in the UK, and I never used to, Sam. That was the funny thing. Since I got into crypto, I pay attention to everything that's happening economically because the two are so tied. I mean, I suppose, Bitcoin came out, it was born out of a recession. But, I think the more I look at it now, that dream of, Bitcoin being a hedge against inflation is too heavily correlated, right? If we're seeing stocks tanking, to be honest, you're going to see Bitcoin tanking at the same time, and you're going to see the rest of the alts tanking even more, which isn't great. So I don't think, personally, we're at a stage yet where I think Bitcoin, is going to fly it solo and forget about what's happening in the backdrop. Unfortunately, it's all heavily tied in. And so now, you ask me from the other side of the pond, I look at the same charts, I look at the same stats, and I look at the same news from a US perspective. You're the much larger economy at the end of the day. And again, it's a world power more than anything else. So a big shift in your economic calendar also does have a ripple effect to all of us guys on the other side who obviously have a much smaller balance sheet.
It's interesting because I never realized any of these things at first because I'm in the US. But now that I have a trading group and I have people from all around the world, and I noticed that everyone focuses on my markets. I don't look at any of them. I don't care what they're doing. I look at the London open close and stuff like that. But I guess, our market really is, it controls the market. See, I'm gonna play, not even play the devil's advocate. I'm gonna say something that I believe. So I got into Bitcoin because I had researched fiat currencies. All right. So I didn't look at Bitcoin like some cool tech stock or like some S&P, something I'm getting in on the S&P or something like that. To me, Bitcoin was a store of value, and basically I looked at the hash rate, and I've studied the hash rate, and there's a reason why the difficulty level goes up when you have more miners, right? And then if it gets too high, you have to shred off the fat, and less people can get in, and that creates the difficulty level to drop. But then more people want to get in, and the way Satoshi wrote the code, it basically makes it so that Bitcoin will always be profitable to mine, even if it loses value or up and down, and then the hash rate continues to grow, right? On top of that, I'm a macro guy as you. I look at the 10-year chart for Bitcoin almost every day, and I study divergences. I'm a divergence trader. When I see a divergence, I listen to it. I heed it like it's Bible, like there's nothing, For instance, I was able to call a top on that second top for Bitcoin when it hit 69,000 because it made a bearish divergence on the weekly. And I compared Bitcoin's chart, and I even looked at other charts, Tesla. I'll look at anything that has like a 20-year, the Dow Jones, and I'll see, wow, if you get weekly bearish divergence and you decide not to get out, you're a fool. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have to get out, like not, so I've learned that. So I've seen weekly bullish divergence now on Bitcoin around that bottom, the FTX dump. And because of that, I began to accumulate heavily because I said, if I miss this, again, just like I didn't miss the top, I'm going to be a fool. I'm also hugely into the 4-year cycle for Bitcoin. And what I believe is people don't see it now because they believe there's the correlation. But, the S&P doesn't have a halving. Stocks don't have a halving. Yeah. And more people are going to learn about Bitcoin. And I believe more and more governments and bigger entities are just going to be forced to grab a little bit of it up. Just to kind of, like I always say, I'd rather have one Bitcoin and not need it than need one Bitcoin and not have it, right? So when I go to that idea, I'm still sticking to the 4-year cycle and the scarcity of Bitcoin. And I truly believe, it doesn't even have to be a hedge like other people think it is. It just has to follow. It's following its own entire reality move. But I like that we kind of give a different piece here because agreeing with no one wants a yes man, right? So this is fun and also good for it's good for the viewers to see that we aren't on the exact same page and they can kind of make their own assumption. You know what I mean? Of kind of how they look at the market. So yeah, what's your take on the halving of Bitcoin? Do you believe that scarcity? Because think about it. This is my one last thing I'll say is the next halving. Right, we basically per block we're making what was it 100? I think it's 12.5 bitcoins a block or something, right? The next halving like 625, then you're going to 3.12, and then you're looking at 1.75, something even 1.65, something like that. So in the next two halvings, you're gonna 10x the amount, or negative 10x, right? It's gonna go down by 10, and I believe that every time you approach a halving, it's gonna get more emotional. And that game of musical chairs is going to get more and more intense. Yeah.
Well, in one of the things I spent an hour and 15 minutes yesterday on my TikTok live stream, educating the masses around the importance of the Bitcoin halving. Okay, like you, Sam, I am a very, very keen follower of the Bitcoin halving. So March next year, 2024. And to be honest, this is the thing, right? It's taken me two bull cycles. I've been here for two bull cycles now, right? The first one, I paper handed it, watched it go up, watched it go down, didn't do much with it. The second one, I thought, you know what? I've studied the halving cycle. I'm going to apply it to the next one. And I had a slightly different view. What I was telling my viewers was the following. We've got 12 years of data, 3 halving cycles that have already passed us, right? From there, one thing is absolutely clear. When the halving kicks in, roughly 12 to 18 months later, you reach a top, okay? Now, I'm not great at calling the top, but I know that the top is going to appear within that period of 6 months, month 12 to month 18. And so this is what I usually say, right? Because I would say there are those who really, take trading seriously, like yourself. It's a day job, almost. It's a day job, regardless, whichever you look at it, right?
Yep.
That's your bread and butter. And there are those who are, lured into Bitcoin through the attraction of the X's, that generational wealth, which can be obtained. But again, they may not have the financial freedom to be able to watch charts on a regular basis. They may have to be doing a 9-to-5 job to put bread on the table, to have a roof over their heads. Like myself, right? I enjoy being in tech. I work 9 to 5, so I'm not fully 100% headstrong into crypto, but I'm a strong believer of it. And really, what I'm getting at from there is, what I say to them is, here's my strategy. When someone says, "What's your strategy for the next bull cycle?" The next bull cycle top's going to be somewhere in 2025. Where in 2025? Well, 12 to 18 months after March 2024, because that's when the next halving starts. So my advice has always been, and this is the way I'm playing it as well, is I'm using this year to accumulate. I'm still accumulating. On the dips, I'm buying up various crypto assets at the end of the day, right? And I say this to everybody: have a long-term time horizon. Take from now up until next year, March, to start DCAing your way into the market. Find those projects that are going to be there. And it depends what type of portfolio you have, whether you're conservative, moderately conservative, or whether you're a Bitcoin maxi, right? Figure out which bucket you fall into, right? Number one. And then once you've done that, bit by bit, start dabbling in. And, it, again, not financial advice, but I certainly believe in it, that by the time we get round to March 2025 to September 2025, you're going to find the top there. And you know what you can do? You can sell 1/6 of your entire portfolio every month, and you will catch the top at some point there, and you'll be a happy chappy. Wait a year, wait for the correction phase, 80% to the downside, repeat the cycle again, rinse and repeat, if you want to play it safe.
Yeah, even me, as much, I've actually called some tops and bottoms. I bought exactly 3,100 when the first dip. I bought 3,800, but only because I say fortune favors the brave. And when that huge dip happened, and right at the pandemic, and it took the market down, I said I may not get another chance to buy Bitcoin below $4,000 or $5,000 ever again. I look at the macro scale of life, right? I study years longer than mine. 500 years of different things. Today I saw a great tweet. Henry Ford's lawyer. He was told by people in the courts and stuff, the horse is going to stay. Don't invest in the car. Like that's hogwash. It's a breakdown. He put $5,000 in 1903 into Ford stock, and by 1919 he had $12 million. And I was fascinated that you could make wealth like that back then. Like that's meme coin. That's like meme coin life, right? So I was like, man, it hit me today, and it kind of made me buy Pepe, the meme coin, today, because I threw $500 in it, because I said, it goes to zero, but you know what I mean? If 5,000 can turn to 12 million, then $500 can turn into almost $1 million. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm just excited for the opportunities. I like how you have a new and different perspective, and being from across the pond. And what you just said is spot on. You're never, I didn't know as much as all my knowledge. I do it all day long. I bought a whole Bitcoin at 19,000. I bought some at 16. And I just knew that in that 4 to 5 month period, when the fear ingredient index was super high, I should be accumulating BTC. You know what I mean? And then, like you say, I personally won't sell Bitcoin, because I believe I'm going to be able to use it as collateralized loans, and I'm just going to be able to, take mortgages out and get into real estate and just turn it into cash flow. That's, maybe it will happen, maybe not, but that's my projection of time. But I will sell every altcoin that I own. Even though I love Cardano, all the way, maybe I'll keep some, But I've learned my lesson after 2 bull runs that
Yeah.
even if you love a project and you think it's long term, it gets over speculated. And so there's too many people that just raise the value of these coins to a point where they're that's not the real value of the coin. Like, no matter how much you like the project, that is just strictly not the real value. And, you know, I came to terms with that. Like, you know, because you'll meet someone, like I met Charles in New York City, and I love Charles Hoskinson, and I love Cardano. And so I was like, I'll never sell this. I'm owning a piece of history. Like, this is going to the moon. And like, you know, I had put 3,000 in it, 2 cents, and I put like another 8 grand in it, 8 cents. And you could do the math when it went to $33. Like, I mean, it was, you know, life changing off of like $11,000. So, but you know, not taking that opportunity, because that could, you know, I didn't sell the top. I'll be honest. I wish I could say I did, but not taking that opportunity, because at the time I was so into the fact that I was buying some new tech, and I had to be whipped by the market. Like, I had to mature as a man too, and realize, Sam, like, you know, and I fall in love with real estate now. Like, that's my new desire, is just cash flow real estate. And I figure we could use the 4-year cycle to get out, go into real estate. And I believe that people will start paying their rent in crypto, right? And we'll be able to take that. So during the bear market, we'll collect rent, right? When it hits again, we'll unload and then buy more real estate. And like that, if I can get 3 to 4 more halvings by the time I'm like 50, 60 years old, like, I think that can be a pretty foolproof plan, you know, unless we get like, you know, complete world implosion. But yeah, so, you know, and then when I used to say people diversify, I was like, no, I get Bitcoin. It's like, now I get it. I think it takes age to finally realize that you're not always the smartest person in the room, and you don't have to be. That's what I realized too. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Like you said, sell 1/6 in the 12 to 8 month. You know, if you get past the 12 month and things are still ripping, every month just grab, and you'll make it 6 months, and at one point you will sell the top, right? And that big top will make you feel good enough about the early sells that you made, and you got to pay yourself in this market. You know what I mean? No one ever went broke taking profits, right?
Exactly. And that's a key one. No one ever went broke taking profit.
I love what you said.
Always say that every time.
I love what you said there. So next topic is tracking zero knowledge proofs on Ethereum. You know, there's a back and forth in this. Is it a new tech that's creating innovative movement, or is it a Band-Aid for a rickety old chain that just can't seem to get started? You know, you know, just to throw that out there. I'd love to hear what you say. I'll give you my opinion after yours, because I don't want to kind of skew you either way. But yeah, I just love to see your you know, where you stand on Ethereum. If I gave you 10,000, how much would you buy? And you could only buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. What would you do with the 10? You know, not financial advice, obviously, but just wanted to see what you think. What would you do with 10,000 if you could only buy Bitcoin and Ethereum? And what's your take on the ZK rollup craze and how it's kind of helping layer 2s move faster with Ethereum?
Yeah, well, if you gave me 10, Sam, all day, every day, Ethereum. It's no surprise for those who know me and watch me. Ethereum accounts for about 60% of my portfolio. Always has. One of the things that I used to do in the bull cycle, when I'm sort of buying up various small caps, is that I would always keep a third in that digital asset. I'd put a third into USDT or whatever stable coin is at the time, and I would always put a third into Ethereum. Always. I was always stacking Ethereum, and I've been doing that since 2017, been stacking Ethereum all the way. And for me, Ethereum is a no-brainer. Okay. When people say, when people want to start off in crypto and they say, how should I manage my portfolio? One of the things that I always say is go and have a look at the fundamentals, have a look at what chains have the most amount of development activity. Okay. And you'll find always Ethereum is number one, regardless of all the other new chains that come along. Ethereum always has the most developer activity, the most weekly commits every week on Ethereum. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It goes into Ethereum. It has a great team. It has a great network effect, and they're always innovating. Fine. It might not be as fast as we'd like, but the innovation is there. And I said it before, Ethereum is the daddy, right? Because all the innovation, all of that DeFi, all of that richness that we see that's coming in, everything when we look at TVL locked, all of this, it stems from Ethereum, because that's where that innovation was bought. Smart contract functionality came from Ethereum. Now we have an issue, okay? Scalability. It's not as fast as it needs to be. It's not growing as quick as it needs to be. When the network's congested, our gas fees are going through the roof. So when the everyday consumer wants to get in and have a piece of that pie, it gets expensive for them, right? And I agree, because again, somebody might want to just make $100 trade, but if you're paying $20, $30 in gas fees, you need to make sure that your trade is going to at least give you a decent return to cover the gas fee that you need in order to get back out again, right? And so hence we have our scaling solutions that are coming in. They're needed. And I'll be honest, I quite enjoy using them. I use a bit on the Arbitrum purely because, again, the way I see it is if you're looking to kind of do DeFi, DeFi is actually, DeFi is here to stay, right? DeFi kind of gives you some of the biggest returns, I would say, more without going full degen. If you kind of know where you're going to get the returns from, if you kind of know what you're farming, you tend to get a decent return if you're not too greedy with it, right? Much better than your average bank. And so this is where, the likes of Arbitrum, the likes of ZK Sync Rollup, all of these, right? This is where it comes in, right? And again, for me, am I going to bet the bank on them? Not necessarily. I think they're just there to kind of, as you said, it's a Band-Aid more than anything else, right? It's there to help with scalability. It's there to give people another opportunity to be able to get into DeFi, understand how DeFi works, etc. All of these things at a much more reduced cost and at a much more reduced risk as well. In fact, interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw, there was a tweet yesterday. There was a chap. He had over $1 million worth of Ethereum, right? Over 5 years, he'd been accumulating it. That wallet had never done anything else other than accumulate Ethereum. That was it. No DeFi, none of this stuff. For some random reason, this person, it was only a few days ago, decided to get into DeFi and clicked on the wrong contract while he got wiped. 5 years of Ethereum gone. And I think this is the thing, where we have an opportunity to be able to do these things or learn these things at a much more reduced level of risk, right? And I think this is what things like Arbitrum and ZK Sync Rollups, all of these things, they kind of provide you that, because you only need to stick in $20, right? And from there, because the cost of transaction is absolutely, it's a fraction in comparison to what you're doing on Ethereum, it gives you that opportunity to learn, to educate yourself, and then if you want to head up with the big boys and play in the Ethereum playground, then you have an opportunity to do that and not necessarily get too burned. So that's my view, Sam, on Ethereum and obviously the scaling solution.
I love that you brought that up, because it makes me bring something up that I never thought I would bring up on the interview, right? And I'm super secure. Like, I've never been hacked. 3 Commas did, and they API'd me, so they kind of like used my positions to bail themselves out. But like, I personally, knock on wood, have yet to be hacked. But honestly, I had my first scare recently. I'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I go over the markets, and one of my admins, like someone that like runs, kind of an admin and a moderator on my YouTube channel, sends me a link, and it's like, and I'm, I keep thinking I'm missing airdrops, right? And it's like, ZK Sync, get in on the airdrop, right? I click on it, right? And next thing you know, thank God, I connect my MetaMask and I'm looking at it, and next thing you know, it's like, it's trying to take everything out of my wallet, like it's saying, and that's how I knew it. Like, you'd hit reject, and then it would be like, permission to use your Essentia, like from back in the day. And I was like, what? I didn't even know I had Essentia on this wallet. And like, then it was like trying to get my my Astrobot NFT for Tokenmetrics. And I was like, oh my God. And I hit reject a bunch of times, went to the sign out button. And honestly, thank God, like, they really can't hit it unless you say approve. Like, once you hit the site, like, they'll try to do it, but what if you sneeze and you just, and I could have lost an Astrobot or $3,000. I could have lost, and so someone like me who's super secure, been on the network for a long time. I got into the Uniswap airdrop. I was one of the first people playing around that summer in DeFi. I knew about what DeFi was before Uniswap. Like, I knew I keep my ear to the grindstone, and I know the narratives, and I knew DeFi was going to be big. That in April and May, I was telling family and friends, you're going to hear a word called DeFi. And they were looking at me like, I was like, I'm always like a year ahead. Sometimes it's good and bad, because like some of my investments are a little early and they could come down a little bit, but I always end up paying off in the end. But so, yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you. I came from, my dad was an iron worker, my mom was a school teacher, my grandfather was a bricklayer. I'm the first male in my family to like really graduate college and, use my mind to create wealth, right? Like, instead of using my body. And so that's like, to me, that number one, there's honor to that. And number two, I owe it to them not to go back. So when I accumulated Bitcoin, I accumulated a bunch of things, and I was going to throw $100,000 on Anchor Protocol and make the 20%. And I was like, oh, I'll just make 20 grand a year. Like, I have 100 grand sitting there. Why don't I just throw it into the protocol, right? And I thought about doing it a few times, and something just told me, I don't know, I can't remember, but I just was like, eh. And I thought about Celsius. And one day I looked at Celsius, and I went to just do like a small loan. And I looked at it, and I was like, okay, you load up. And a little voice said, like Hotel California was like, you can click in, but you may never click out. You know what I mean? And I was like, I may be able to click. And I asked myself, honestly, I said, what would you do if you couldn't click the out button? You know what I mean? And my brain was just like, nah, not leaving the hardware wallet. And then, months later, the debacle would happen. I would see people crying. And, that's another good thing of never compare yourself to other people. And never get jealous or worried, because I saw people making massive gains, and I saw people that had like 10 million and 5 million. And I'm like, oh, he's just sitting there. He's making $1 million a year almost. And just, and I know people now that were 10 times richer than me, 100x richer than me, and they don't have access to their funds. So like I ended up with more money than they did because of the risk that they took with their money. So I tell everybody, hard-earned money is hard-earned. Hardware wallets are for a reason. Not your keys, not your cheese. I just found out the other day, and I hadn't heard that one. So, man, I love your perspective, too. I like that you brought that up. We got to be careful out here, until we have better parameters and, hopefully, and this is another reason why we need more regulation we need more tech, because the average person may not have been as savvy as me at that moment in time, may not have figured these things out. I've been in risk for so long, right? I started buying Bitcoin. Like, I basically told myself that it's riskier not to be in risk. Like, if I would have been the one that got onto the ship and went to the new land, I would say, well, let's at least find I'll die finding, but I already know what's here. So, but not many people can handle the risk like that, and even you, like, you pretty much handle the risk too. Like, you do it, you understand it, and you dip your toe in. Like, when maybe you're taking on too much, and another great thing about you that I realize is once you have a mind, like I have a mind to look at charts. So people want my mind. Like, they want to see what I can see. And the company you work for wants your mind. Like, they know you have something, right, that other people don't. And once you start relying on your brain, it's a lot easier to sell these coins, because you have something that can continue to produce for you, right? Like, I think you're, maybe you've already done it too, but you're probably a step away from maybe another huge innovative project that could probably pay you for the rest of your life because of your mind, right? So everybody listening to us both right now, invest in yourself, educate yourself. Like, the more you build up this and begin to, bring yourself more knowledge, the less you'll rely on that meme coin, or the rest you'll rely on that one stock that has to win for you. You'll still be speculative, and you can still go for a 5 or 10x, but it'll be way easier to take the money when you rely on yourself first and foremost, and that's something that I'm getting from you that I really like. I think that gives you the calm. It almost makes you make more money because you have the ability to take more risk in a way. Because
it is. But the other thing, Sam, is once you've been through a couple of bull cycles, these things they don't phase you as much. No. In all honesty, yesterday my overall portfolio was, just so we can quantify it, I was $100,000 up yesterday. Today I'm $100,000 down. But you know what? it's neither here nor there for me.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Like, my wife's like, you should have sold it yesterday. I was like, it doesn't bother me. Like, because to be honest, it's a long-term mindset. My view is my sales come in 2025. And if there's opportunities here for me to, make a bit of pocket change here or there, just to splash out and do something, or maybe buy some new alloys for the car or something, or whatever it might well be, right? Then fine, I'll take it. But to be honest, I'm not too fussed about it right now. But I think you need to go through these cycles. You need to go through these motions to actually get battle ready. That's what it is. It's getting battle ready for being in crypto. Like, the first bull cycle for me, I was like, what is going on here? Like, oh my God, it's going right. I mean, even then, it wasn't exactly life-changing money, right? Because Bitcoin back then, when I picked it up, it was roughly about 2000 something. So again,
that's same as me. That's around the price I started buying Bitcoin.
Exactly, yeah. And 5 of those was only like £10,000. So it's neither here nor there for me. Like 10, it was just a standard investment more than anything else. But then when you see all of it suddenly go up to 20K, you're like, okay, that's pretty decent. It's not going to pay the mortgage or anything. But I thought, okay, let me see where it goes. It's the first time I was exposed to the asset class. And then it crashed. And I'm like, my God. And my dad was like, I told you so.
They
And I
all
was
do
like,
that.
well,
They
Dad,
love
come
that.
on.
The uncles, the
That's
dads, they
just
love
that.
that.
That's
And
it.
you're looking at them
And
like,
then,
I'll see you in a
but
few
then,
years.
once you, like you said, once you start investing in yourself, once you start, using your brain and just watching what's happening around you, digesting the market, understanding the cycles, the flow, all of these things, you just get battle ready. And when we had the last cycle, again, I was still learning. I'm not to the point where I'm done and I'm an OG. But you know what? By the time, Sam, I get into the third bull cycle, I will be an OG. That's for sure. I'll wear that title.
I love that. Nothing ventured, nothing gained,
Yeah.
And for me, it was, I didn't have as much money. So that 2017, when you see my portfolio went from 20 to like about almost, $180,000, right?
Yeah.
And to me, like I had never seen $100,000 in my bank account in my life. So I was, and after you kind of go through the ebbs and flows, eventually you're just like, $100,000, like, and then, and I guess, we also get blessed, I guess, because we got in early enough. I mean, at one point your Bitcoins were $350,000, dang near. So, but that's also, and then you realize too, you can't take it with you, right? When we pass here, we go with the essence of what we are. And, it's all a ride. Like everything is a ride, up and down, left or right. It's kind of what you take from the situation is really what the value that you eventually, like what it does for you as a person, is what it does for your character. And as you begin to build. So I just find that your story is awesome. I love it. and I like how you're able to manage, family life, work life, and you didn't just, because some people do this and then they ruin family and work life over crypto too, because there's just like, they throw so much in there and they lose half their paychecks. There's no more savings. They're freaking out. They sell the bottom. Their wife looks at them, tries to, people have people have lost relationships, like what, marriages, divorces has occurred over crypto. 100%. I'm sure people would just, because he's all he did was on the computer for weeks and then, and then next thing you know, when it was end, he had nothing to show for it. I don't want to be with this guy anymore. It's like, or a woman, or the other way around. Like, I don't want to be with this lady anymore. You know what I mean? We could probably like make a reality show about like crypto marriages. You know what I mean? And you know what? Speaking of marriages, to me, whenever you're on an exchange, it's kind of like it's a relationship. It's maybe not a marriage, but it's a relationship there. You're putting your money up. You're believing that there's security there. And that brings me to the FTX reboot plan. FTX plans to reboot, attract interest from VC firm Tribe Capital report. Now, what firm would want to get in bed with this? I also, I never got involved with FTX, something I never got into. It's just, there's something about it. The only thing about Ethereum that I didn't mention with you, right, is what keeps me a little wary of Ethereum. And I don't know if you watched my live stream the other day, but like I went to purchase a meme coin, or not even a meme. I was going to buy a coin. Yeah. And before I bought it, I showed everyone here's the contract address. There's a Ethereum and there's a BNB. And I said, here, we're going to buy the same coin for the same price, and we're going to go to PancakeSwap and we're going to pay 40 cents, right? And then we're going to go to Ethereum. And I was trying to buy $14 of the coin just to I was showing them how to buy, and $6 gas fee on Ethereum. And we haven't even begun to get into like when the rally starts to start. And I said, this is why I'm not a huge fan. You know what I mean? Because I just I believe I could 10x or 30x my portfolio, and maybe fine, I'll buy some Ethereum at the end of the rally when it's low. Like maybe for a longer storm of value, I'm with you on that. But it also has no circulating, like it doesn't have it doesn't have a max supply. Like I don't know how many there are. Like, so it depends on people needing it. And yes, it's now more inflationary, right? Because more people are developing on the network, or deflationary, right? More people, more people are working on the network, and we should be able to burn through more Ethereum. But so that's always I'm always like, I hold like 20 ETH or something like that. And and it was the first coin I ever bought. Someone told me about it at $9. It went to 89. I wished I'd bought it. I started buying it at $89. And I almost kind of had my fun with it too. You know what I mean? I kind of, but and another thing I believe is if you love Ethereum, you just purchase a layer 2, like you purchase Matic, and you're going to make, if Ethereum does go to 10K, like one of my buddies the other day said, what do you think? I was like, I say we get to 8 to 10,000. I was like, a chance we get to 12 in the next run. I said pretty guaranteed over 8K for me. It's pretty, I think that's a guarantee. But I said, pending the world doesn't implode, it's a great investment. You know what I mean? But in my mind, I'm like, I'll just buy Matic, and at the top of the rally, sell automatic, and then when it comes back down, I could buy Ethereum. So I'm always like, why hold Ethereum if I can make more multiples? And to me, Matic isn't as risky as well. But that's just my take on it. Like, that's why I'm like, and it's weird. I don't go over ETH as much on my channel every day. And then everyone says, what's ETH? And I'm like, it's doing what Bitcoin's doing. I'm like, look at the Bitcoin chart. That's the ETH chart. Like, you know what I mean? I mean,
it is.
You know, I mean, every once in a while it has it spike up against, and you look at the ETH BTC pair. But yeah, would you ever consider, diversifying into more layer 2s? And would you ever put your money on FTX again? And what do you think about Tribe Capital getting into FTX? Because I kind of, I threw you different questions, but I was just so intrigued by our dichotomy with Ethereum that I had to kind of keep that going,
Yeah, no. So would I consider selling my Ethereum stack and diversifying into layer 2s?
I'm gonna say no, but
no. I'm really protective of my Ethereum. I don't know what it is. I know what it is.
I'm the same way with my Bitcoin. I'm the same way, man.
I know what it is. Like, as I was saying before, for me, it's always been, I like to take, I'm a bit more risk averse. So for me, Ethereums, your Bitcoins, your Cardano, your Cosmos, all of these, they're low risk, low reward. You might not get the most multiples, but if you've been stacking them over a number of years, like I have, then usually that, regardless of whether it does it'll do another 5x from here, right? Another 5x from here. If we take diminishing returns into consideration, then you're right, Sam. I was thinking roughly 10K would be where Ethereum would be. And if we were in some sort of random cycle, this super cycle that everyone always talks about, or whatever it might well be, 15K would be the absolute top. Stuff has to go bananas, but 15K would be the absolute top for me. But really, 10 to 12K was where I was thinking that would be my sell point for Ethereum anyway. And then wait for the 80% drawdown and then jump back in again. Like, we say 80, was 77 this run. So maybe the next one, it might be 70%. But that doesn't matter. A few percentages here and there. So again, no, I wouldn't. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't scale into layer 2s. In fact, I do have Polygon Matic. In fact, I did pick up Arbitrum around $1.16. And I've just picked those up, and I have no intention of selling them anytime this year. I'm literally holding them until we get into the next bull cycle. I'm almost certain that they're going to give a very decent return, and I'm just going to jump off it. Not married to it, don't love it, just going to trade it, but over a long-term time horizon. So no, I wouldn't sell my Ethereum, but yes, I have bought some.
Plus one. You know what's interesting is, I buy stuff live every once in a while just to show. And I don't do it to brag. I do it to show people that I'm putting my money into things. Like, I'm not that guy just and you don't even see what I'm doing around. I bought a Bitcoin live for 19,000 on my live stream because everyone was saying where the bottom was, and I was like, you know what? Everyone can say whatever they want. I'm going to do something. Actions speak louder than words. Like, I'm going to do it, and I think that's why a lot of people love my channel and respect me, because I will take it on. Like, I'll do it. Like, I'm willing to get the tomatoes thrown at me when it goes to 12K or 15K. And, I said to everyone, I said, I have capital. I'll buy 5 Bitcoins at 15 or at 10,000, and you won't be laughing at me then either. You know what I mean? So, like, I was like, I'm ready for 10,000. When I bought 19K, I said out loud, I said, I'm ready for 7,000, 10,000. I could handle it if it had to happen. Like, I could handle it. But the other part about it is, so I did this similar to you. I bought some Arbitrum. I got in at 129. Wish I got 116, but 129 I felt good about. And then, days later it would go to like 120, and some troll would come on my live and be like, what happened to your Arbitrum buy last week? Down pretty hard. And I would just chuckle like, man, like, if you don't realize where Arbitrum's going to go and you're not willing to just give it a couple 2-year hold, then like, you're not ready for serious wealth, And I didn't even say that. I was just like, I said, that's a long-term hold, man. Like, and today, I love to go to D-Bank, right? And on D-Bank, it's a great place where if you forget everything you've ever done on DeFi, you can just throw your address into D-Bank, and it's going to show you basically what you've been doing, what you're up to, what you lost, what you bought, like where. And it goes to whales, and you click on the whales, and I'm telling you, I saw a guy with $3.2 billion worth of, it looked like optimism. Or like $1 billion worth of arbitrage. Like, I was like there's some holders that have like $1 billion in these coins, and I'm like, well, that guy, he's probably, and all he needs is to double to make $1 billion, right? They're just waiting on a 1x. They don't even need a 10x to make more money than you've ever thought possible. So I like to follow the smart money, and I love how you can do that better than in the stock market. Like I can look at wallets, I can look, and when I saw that the last couple of months, even I think there are these guys from Dubai. I saw someone with like $500 million worth of baby Doge, and I was just like, "Are you serious?" You know what I mean? So yeah, you know, that's just it leads me to believe that the people with a long-term goal, the people that are patient, are going to win. And that's things, you know, we learned that in school, right? Like, wait your turn at the water fountain. You know what I mean? You cut someone, you had to go back to it's like 8-year-old things that we learned as kids. And there's some people that just still, with the emotions running high and the way the markets run, they just start being, I'd say, a little immature, right? And it has to be now. It has to be now. And honestly, the has to be now is how you lose most of your money, right? The person that can step away, the person that can make, and then you make far more logical decisions. Wow, when you realize you're in for a lot longer period of time, you know, and I know
patience is key, Sam. Patience is key, and you have to have it. If you don't have it, you're not made for this market, and that's where people start using leverage trading to quickly level up. You know, I got to get that million this year, but in all honesty, you know, what's a year or two? You know, if you kind of look at the grand scheme of things, give it a couple of years. You know how the cycle works. You'll be on top. Just stack and forget about it. And watching the charts every day is bad for your health. That's the other thing. Like, because if you're in it for the long term, buy it, forget it, come back in 2025.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you get paid like me to watch the charts every day. But like,
no, but it's different. I mean,
I'm just
you're in a
around.
different league, Sam, right? As in, you're a trader.
Yeah.
Whereas for me,
I'm also an analyst, really, too. Like, right? People want to watch me analyze markets. Like, it's like entertaining as much as it is informational, right? They want to see what this guy's doing with the charts. Just like I watch, you know, Bloomberg Business or all the other people. It's just like I want to see, you know, what they're doing. And you wouldn't touch FTX with a 10-foot pole, I'm guessing, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, like you said before, there was something about Sam, in all honesty, that just put me off. And it's not necessarily judging a book by its cover type thing. It is just the vibe you get. And again, like you, I contemplated many times before, you know what, at the end of this cycle, you know, around sort of August, September, I'm gonna sell out my portfolio. And I thought about it. I thought, you know what, I could just put the stables in Anchor Protocol. 20% sounds pretty decent.
Amazing.
You know, who wouldn't, right? And there was just something about me having just not, like, I never even opened up an account on FTX, actually. So I think I used the app just to track token prices like you just do normally. And that was it. When they took over, I forgot which, the Delta or something they took over at the time. I forget the name. But again, there was just something about it that just kind of pushed me away from it. And I'm happy I didn't. I'm happy I didn't. But would I touch it again? No. But the fact is, you know, like we see in every cycle, people are going to go off the fact that FTX, the token value itself, went sky high in the last bull cycle. Suddenly, these guys have found another $7 billion just because the price of Bitcoin has, you know, raised the tide for them exactly more than anything else. And they're going to think, you know what, there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity to be made. In fact, you know what, they might even come out. And it's under new management. So it's not run by the old same people. But again, you know, you got to think twice about these things. Like FTX, it doesn't matter how you rebrand yourself whatsoever. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a tarnished brand more than anything else. And I wouldn't, and I would urge others not to as well, to dabble with FTX, in all honesty. Sure, the token value is going to go up, right? I can tell that it's going to go up, but it's not a risk that I want to take with any of my stables to bet on the fact that it goes up, because the likelihood is it's going to go up for a reason. The reason is that it needs exit liquidity. You're going to be exit liquidity in order for those, you know, who unfortunately lost a lot. And I'm not talking about the everyday consumer. I'm actually talking about investors, you know, who are kind of in that inner circle. They want to be made whole at your expense.
I know. Amazing. Well, that brings us to the end. I mean, this was amazing. I learned something. I had a really good time with you. Kind of calmed me down. I love your voice on ATB. It always kind of brings down my blood pressure a little bit with my high-strung way of being. It's really nice to spend time with someone that sees a bigger picture, that's a family man. And, you know, it's just, I feel like you're one of my brothers. I can't wait to meet you one day. Hopefully I go to the UK, or if you come here, I'm going to be a Consensus. I don't know if you ever come out here to Bitcoin Miami or Consensus or anything like that. But if you ever decide to travel, you definitely, I'll take you to dinner. We'll hang out. I would love to show you, you know, give you some American hospitality. But yeah, take it away. I'm gonna leave you with the screen, and just, you know, tell people how you feel, where they can find you. Just one last thing, just so where they can find you, and any last words that you want to give my subscribers. And yeah, thank you so much for being here, man.
Sam, thank you for having me on here. It's as always, it's always great talking with you. Although previously it's been on panels, but this one-on-one has been absolutely amazing. It's like two old friends catching up over crypto more than anything else. So, thank you very much for having me on your show. Really enjoyed my time here. And, for those who are looking for slightly different, it's more kind of just it's me sharing my experiences where I've made mistakes and where I'm sort of heading. It's just, I like to think of it more as a thought process that we're in. So, you'll find me on TikTok, YouTube, Binance Live, Decentralized chain. It's the same tag everywhere more than anything else. And that's it. But what I would say is zoom out, have a look at Bitcoin, really zoom out and have a look at Bitcoin. And from my perspective, have a long-term mindset. If you have a long-term mindset, you'll be able to kill this market, in all honesty. That's my view. And that's kind of how I've played it over the years. And, take from that what you will. But again, thank you, Sam, for having me, and hope to come back on sometime soon.